Gentleman from Kansas is recognized to strike the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike last word. I've got so many things to say. I hope I can get it all done in 5 minutes. I wanted to first start off by correcting a little bit of the record. Some comments were made about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and how much revenue supposedly was lost in that. In 2022, the federal Treasury received over $900 billion more than what was projected by the Congressional Budget Office when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was put in place. $900 billion more. That's just in 1 year. In 2021, prior to coming out completely out of COVID, we had $200 billion more received. So the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is already paying for itself. By the time we get through this year, it will have covered everything of the reduction in rates, and will continue to have the growth in the economy. So that's helped reduce the debt that the country has. I also want to talk a little bit about Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution vests Congress the authority to borrow on the full faith and credit of the United States. But what's that mean exactly? The phrase full faith and credit describes the United States' unconditional guarantee to pay back the interest and principal of the debt that Congress has incurred. That means that every time Congress passes a spending bill, such as the $1 trillion misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, the $2 trillion so-called American Rescue Plan, or the $1.7 trillion omnibus, there is an explicit promise made by Congress to repay this money that is borrowed. In order to protect the full faith and credit we borrow on, we have to have a discussion about stopping our out-of-control spending habits. The bill will allow Treasury the means to pay the principal and interest on the debt held by the public, avoiding a catastrophic default, while allowing us to have a real discussion on spending. I've heard some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle claim the Treasury cannot prioritize payments. That's categorically false. Treasury already prioritizes payments when it engages in extraordinary measures. It places a certain activity, paying principal and interest on the debt over other things. While Treasury may represent that it cannot prioritize payments, this is a longtime Democrat scare tactic. Congressional investigations like the one produced in 2016 that I'd like to submit for the record have shown that the Treasury is at least capable of prioritizing principal and interest payments on the debt, and the New York Fed has been running tabletop debt ceiling exercises regarding these sort of contingencies since at least March of 2011. Additionally, Director Phil Swagel of the Congressional Budget Office recently stated that prioritization would be technically challenging, but in principle, it's feasible. So without your consideration, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate if we could enter this this congressional investigation from 2016.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman.